My beloved brothers and sisters, in this fast-paced world, everyone has something to say. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone feels entitled to comment on your life, your choices, your mistakes, and even your intentions. And sadly, many of us spend our entire lives responding, defending, explaining, arguing until we are exhausted. But let me remind you of something very important. Allah did not ask you to fix the whole world. Allah asked you to fix yourself. When you stand before Allah on the day of judgment, you will not be asked why others failed. You will be asked what you did with your heart, your tongue, your time, and your blessings. Focus on yourself. Look at your salah before looking at someone else's shortcomings. Look at your character before pointing out someone else's mistakes. Look at your relationship with Allah before judging someone else's journey. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is remain silent. Silence is not weakness. Silence is wisdom. Not every comment deserves a reply. Not every accusation needs clarification. Not every misunderstanding requires explanation. When you speak less, your heart stays lighter. When you stay silent for the sake of Allah, He speaks on your behalf in ways you could never imagine. People will misunderstand you. Let them. People will talk about you. Let them. People will doubt you. Let them. Because while they are busy talking, you are busy growing. The believer understands that energy is precious. Why waste it on arguments that don't bring you closer to Jannah? Why exhaust your soul trying to prove your worth to people when your value is already written by Allah? Work on your intentions quietly. Improve your character silently. Make your dua privately. Cry to Allah in the depths of the night when no one sees you. That is where real strength is built. Remember, even the best of people were spoken about. Even those closest to Allah were tested through words, rumors, and accusations. But they didn't chase validation. They chased Allah's pleasure. So focus on your own path. Walk it with humility. Walk it with patience. Walk it with sincerity. And when noise surrounds you, choose silence. When negativity reaches you, choose dignity. When distraction calls you, choose discipline. Because when Allah sees your effort, when Allah knows your heart, when Allah is pleased with you, no opinion in this world can harm you. May Allah grant us the wisdom to focus on ourselves, the strength to stay silent when needed, and the sincerity to live for Him alone. Ameen. My brothers and sisters, one of the greatest misunderstandings of our time is the belief that our primary duty is to correct everyone else. We live in an age where pointing fingers has become easier than pointing hearts back to Allah. Yet when we reflect deeply, we realize that Allah never made us supervisors over people's souls. He made us caretakers of our own hearts. Your biggest responsibility is not to monitor how others live, but to constantly work on how you live. When Allah created you, He gave you a personal amana, a trust. That trust is your faith, your character, your intentions, and your actions. No one else will carry that burden for you. On the day of judgment, you will stand alone. Not with your friends, not with your family, not with those you corrected or criticized. You will stand with your book of deeds open, and every page will speak about you. Not about how many people you exposed or how many arguments you won. It is very easy to see faults in others. The human eye naturally looks outward. But the true believer turns that gaze inward and asks, what about me? How is my prayer? How is my honesty? How is my treatment of my parents, my spouse, my children, and even strangers? How is my tongue when no one is watching? These questions require courage because fixing yourself is far more difficult than fixing others. When we focus too much on correcting people, something dangerous happens. We begin to feel superior. We start believing that guidance belongs to us, not to Allah. We forget that the same Allah who is patient with others is also patient with us. The same mercy we demand for our mistakes is the mercy others desperately need for theirs. If Allah were to expose us the way we expose people, none of us would be able to stand with dignity. This does not mean that advice has no place. Sincere nasiha, given with wisdom, humility, and love is part of our faith, but there is a vast difference between advising to please Allah and policing to please the ego. When your heart is more concerned with being right than being kind, it is time to pause. When your words push people away from Allah instead of drawing them closer, it is time to reflect. Imagine if every one of us focused seriously on our own reform. Imagine if we invested the same energy we use to criticize into improving our prayer, controlling our anger, purifying our income, and softening our hearts. The community would change naturally, without shouting, without humiliation, without conflict. Reform begins quietly from within. So return to yourself. Make your greatest. Project the purification of your heart. Compete not in exposing faults, but in correcting your own. Ask Allah to fix you before using you to fix others. Because when you are sincere, when you are humble, when you are working on yourself, Allah will place acceptance in your words without you forcing them. And that, my brothers and sisters, is true success. My brothers and sisters, silence is often misunderstood. Many people think that remaining silent means you are weak, afraid, or lacking confidence. In reality, silence is one of the strongest forms of self-control a believer can develop. It is easy to speak. It is easy to react. It is easy to let emotions spill out through the tongue, but it takes immense strength to pause, to restrain yourself, and to choose silence for the sake of Allah. The tongue is small, yet its impact is enormous. A single sentence can heal a heart, and a single sentence can destroy years of trust. This is why the believer learns early on that not everything felt needs to be said, and not everything thought needs to be shared. Silence becomes a shield, protecting your heart from regret and your deeds from being weighed down by unnecessary words. There are moments when people provoke you, misunderstand you, or accuse you unfairly. The natural instinct is to defend yourself immediately, to explain, to respond, and sometimes to retaliate. But wisdom teaches us that not every battle deserves your voice. Some arguments are designed to pull you down to a level where dignity is lost and emotions take control. By remaining silent, you deny negativity the fuel it needs to grow. Silence also gives space for clarity. When you speak in anger, you often say things you cannot take back. But when you remain silent, your heart settles, your mind clears, and your intentions realign. You begin to see situations as they truly are, not as your emotions make them appear. In that pause, Allah places calm, and with calm comes better decisions. There is also a deep spiritual dimension to silence. When the tongue rests, the heart becomes more alert. You begin to hear your own conscience. You begin to notice your own shortcomings. You become more aware of Allah's presence in your life. Excessive speech hardens the heart, but thoughtful silence softens it and makes it receptive to guidance. Some of the most dignified responses are no responses at all. When you trust Allah, you understand that you do not need to defend yourself against every accusation. Allah knows the truth. Allah sees the effort. Allah is aware of the intentions hidden in the chest. When you remain silent for His sake, He defends you in ways that speech never could. He turns hearts, changes narratives, and opens doors you did not even knock on. Silence does not mean you never speak. It means you speak with purpose. When words are needed to guide, to comfort, to stand for justice, the believer speaks with courage and wisdom. But when words will only inflate egos, deepen woo, NDS, or waste energy, the believer chooses silence. So learn to value your words by using them less. Let your character speak when your tongue does not. Let your actions explain what your voice chooses to withhold. Because in a world full of noise, the one who masters silence stands out with calm, dignity, and strength that comes only from reliance on Allah. My brothers and sisters, one of the greatest comforts for the believer is knowing that Allah does not judge us by the noise we make, but by the sincerity within our hearts and the effort behind our actions. In a world that rewards visibility, applause, and constant self-promotion, it is easy to feel pressure to be seen, to be heard, and to be recognized. Yet with Allah, the scale is completely different. What matters is not how loudly you speak, but how truthfully your heart turns to Him. Many people do good deeds for an audience. They want acknowledgement, appreciation, and praise. When it comes, they feel validated. When it does not, they feel discouraged. But the believer learns that deeds done quietly with pure intention often carry far greater weight than deeds done publicly with mixed motives. Allah sees what people overlook. He knows the struggles behind your obedience, the tears you hide, and the effort you make when no one is watching. Intentions transform ordinary actions into acts of worship. A simple smile, a patient response, a silent act of kindness, or a private dua can outweigh grand gestures if done sincerely. On the other hand, actions that appear impressive may become weightless if they are driven by ego or the desire to be admired. This is why the believer constantly checks the heart, asking not what will people think, but is Allah pleased? Noise can be deceptive. Those who speak the most are not always the most sincere. Those who appear the most confident are not always the most righteous. Allah's judgment penetrates beyond appearances. He judges the struggle of the one who tries again after failing, the one who resists temptation in private, and the one who remains patient when doing right becomes difficult. These efforts may never trend, but they are recorded with precision. There are moments when you feel unseen, unappreciated, and overlooked. You may be striving to improve, holding yourself back from sin, or doing good without recognition. Shaitan may whisper that your efforts are insignificant because no one notices them. But remember, the one who truly matters sees every step you take toward him. When Allah sees sincerity, He places barakah in your deeds, even if they seem small. This understanding brings immense peace. You stop chasing validation from people and start focusing on consistency with Allah. You stop exhausting yourself trying to explain your intentions because you know they are already known. You stop competing for attention because you are competing for acceptance. Allah's justice is perfect. He does not overlook effort, and He does not ignore sincerity. Even when your voice trembles, your deeds fall short, or your progress feels slow, Allah judges you with mercy, not mockery. He judges your turning back to Him, not your past distance from Him. So remain sincere, work quietly, let your heart be loud with faith, even if your tongue is silent, because when Allah judges you by intention and effort, the absence of noise becomes your greatest strength, and the quiet sincerity of your heart becomes your greatest success. My brothers and sisters, one of the silent thieves of peace in our lives is constant comparison. It creeps into the heart quietly, making you measure your journey against someone else's progress, your blessings against another's possessions, and your struggles against what people choose to show. Before you realize it, gratitude begins to fade, contentment weakens, and the heart becomes restless. Even though Allah may have already given you more than enough, comparison is unfair, because you are comparing your behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel. You do not see their private battles, their hidden fears, or the tests that keep them awake at night. You only see what is visible, polished, and shared. Allah, however, did not create you to be a copy of anyone else. He created you with a unique path, a unique pace, and a unique set of tests perfectly suited to your soul. When you compare, you begin to question Allah's wisdom. You start asking why someone else has what you don't, why their journey seems easier, or why their success came faster. These thoughts quietly damage trust in Allah's plan. Yet the believer knows that Allah distributes according to wisdom, not favoritism. What is a blessing for one person may be a trial for another, and what you see as a delay may actually be protection. Comparison also distracts you from your own responsibilities. Instead of focusing on how to improve yourself, you become preoccupied with watching others. Instead of building your character, you start measuring your worth by external standards. This leads to envy, resentment, and sometimes arrogance, all of which poison the heart and weaken faith. True peace comes when you accept that your race is with yourself, not with people. Your goal is not to be better than others, but to be better than you were yesterday. When you focus on your own growth, your own relationship with Allah, and your own obligations, the noise of comparison fades. You begin to appreciate your blessings, no matter how small they seem, because you recognize them as gifts personally chosen for you by Allah. Social environments and constant exposure to others' lives have made comparison even harder to avoid. But the believer learns to guard the heart. You remind yourself that what Allah has written for you will never miss you, and what He has not written for you will never reach you, no matter how hard you chase it. This certainty brings freedom. You stop competing for dunya and start striving envy for contentment. Gratitude is the cure for comparison. When you thank Allah sincerely for what you have, your heart becomes too full to envy others. You begin to see your struggles as opportunities for growth and your blessings as trust to be used responsibly. Every time comparison arises, return to gratitude and you will find your peace restored. So free yourself from the exhausting habit of comparison. Walk your path with patience. Trust Allah's timing. Celebrate others without diminishing yourself. When you stop measuring your life against others, you reclaim your peace, strengthen your faith, and allow your heart to rest in the wisdom of Allah's perfect plan. My brothers and sisters, when a person truly focuses on themselves, something powerful begins to happen. Self-discipline starts to grow. Many people want change, success, and closeness to Allah, but they underestimate the role of inner control. Self-discipline is not about harshness or deprivation. It is about guiding the soul gently but firmly toward what pleases Allah, even when the nafs resists. When your attention is scattered on people's lives, opinions, and behaviors, your energy is drained. But when you turn inward and focus on your own habits, intentions, and weaknesses, you become aware of what needs work. This awareness is the first step toward growth. You begin to notice patterns. What triggers your anger, what weakens your iman, what distracts you from prayer, and what draws you closer to Allah. With this clarity, discipline becomes possible. Self-discipline grows through small, consistent actions. It is built when you choose to pray on time even when you are tired, when you lower your gaze even when temptation is easy, and when you speak kindly even when silence would be more comfortable. These quiet choices train the soul. Over time, what once felt heavy becomes natural, and what once felt difficult becomes a source of strength. Focusing on yourself also teaches responsibility. Instead of blaming others for your shortcomings, you take ownership of your actions. You stop saying, if people were different, I would be better, and start saying, if I improve myself, my situation will change. This shift empowers you. You realize that growth is not dependent on perfect circumstances, but on sincere effort. Through self-discipline, the believer learns patience. Progress is rarely instant. You may fall, struggle, and feel frustrated with yourself. But discipline is not about never failing. It is about returning every time you slip. Each return strengthens the heart and deepens reliance on Allah. He loves the servant who keeps turning back even with weaknesses. As discipline strengthens, growth follows naturally. Your character softens. Your reactions become calmer. Your worship becomes more consistent. You begin to feel a quiet confidence, not arrogance, but a sense of stability that comes from knowing you are trying sincerely. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself to people because you are busy improving yourself for Allah. Self-discipline also protects your peace. When your life has structure rooted in faith, chaos has less room to enter. You manage your time better, guard your words more carefully, and choose your actions with intention. This order creates balance, and balance nurtures growth in every area of life. So focus on yourself, not out of selfishness, but out of responsibility. Discipline your soul with mercy, not cruelty. Take one step at a time, knowing that Allah sees every effort. With self-focus comes self-discipline. And with self-discipline comes growth that is steady, meaningful, and pleasing to Allah. My brothers and sisters, life will constantly place you in situations where you feel the urge to respond, to react, and to defend yourself. Words may hurt, actions may offend, and misunderstandings may arise without warning. In those moments, it feels as though silence is surrender. But in reality, not every battle needs a response, and not every provocation deserves your energy. Many conflicts grow not because they are important, but because they are fed. A single reaction can turn a small issue into a long-lasting dispute. When you respond emotionally, you often give power to words that were never worth it in the first place. The believer learns to ask a simple but profound question before reacting. Will this bring me closer to Allah, or will it pull me away from peace? Choosing not to respond is not about fear. It is about control. It is about recognizing that your time, your emotional strength, and your spiritual focus are valuable. When you engage in every argument, you scatter your energy and invite stress into your heart. But when you walk away with dignity, you protect your inner calm and preserve your character. Some people thrive on reactions. They provoke, criticize, or belittle, hoping to draw you into chaos. When you refuse to respond, you deny them satisfaction. More importantly, you deny Shaitan an opportunity to ignite anger, pride, and resentment within you. Silence in such moments becomes an act of worship when done for the sake of Allah. There are also times when responding feels justified. You may feel wronged or misunderstood, but wisdom teaches that justice is not always achieved through confrontation. Sometimes Allah restores dignity through patience. Sometimes He clears misunderstandings without you saying a word. And sometimes the truth emerges naturally when falsehood is left unsupported. Walking away from unnecessary battles requires humility. The ego wants to win, to prove a point, and to be acknowledged. But the heart that seeks Allah's pleasure values peace over pride. It understands that being right is not always more important than being calm, and speaking is not always more powerful than remaining silent. This does not mean you never stand up for what is right. There are moments when silence is wrong, when injustice must be addressed, and when truth must be spoken with courage and wisdom. But those moments are guided by purpose, not emotion. The believer learns to distinguish between a battle worth fighting and a distraction designed to drain the soul. Over time, choosing which battles to avoid strengthens your faith. You become less reactive and more reflective. You stop being controlled by people's words and start being guided by principles. Your heart becomes lighter because it is no longer burdened by unnecessary conflicts. So remember, every argument does not deserve your voice, and every challenge does not require your response. Protect your peace, guard your heart, choose your battles wisely. When you do, you will find that the strength to walk away is often greater than the strength to fight, and the reward of patience is far more lasting than the temporary satisfaction of winning an argument. My brothers and sisters, real change in the world does not begin with loud slogans or public criticism. It begins quietly within the individual heart. Inner reform is the foundation upon which all lasting outer success is built. When a person works on their sincerity, character, and relationship with Allah, the effects naturally extend beyond them, touching their family, the community, and even generations after them. When the heart is corrected, actions follow. A heart connected to Allah produces honesty in speech, fairness in dealings, patience in hardship, and humility in ease. These qualities can be forced through external pressure alone. They grow from within. This is why Islam places so much emphasis on intention and purification of the heart. Without inner reform, outer success becomes empty, unstable, and often short-lived. Many people chase visible success, status, recognition, influence, while neglecting the state of their hearts. They may achieve outward progress but feel inwardly restless. Their achievements bring stress instead of peace, fear instead of fulfillment. Inner reform, however, aligns the heart with purpose. When you know why you are doing what you do, your efforts carry meaning and your success carries tranquility. Inner reform also builds resilience. Life will test you with loss, disappointment, and delay. If your foundation is external, these tests will shake you. But if your foundation is internal, rooted in trust in Allah, you remain steady. You understand that success is not the absence of hardship, but the ability to remain faithful through it. This strength attracts respect and opens doors that force never could. As inner reform deepens, your influence becomes more authentic. People are drawn not to your words, but to your behavior. They see consistency between what you believe and how you live. Your calm in difficulty, your integrity when no one is watching, and your kindness when it is inconvenient become silent invitations to goodness. Without realizing it, you inspire others simply by being sincere. Outer success that comes from in. Yet reform is balanced. It does not make you arrogant because you recognize that everything is from Allah. It does not make you despair when it fades because your worth was never tied to it. This balance protects you from pride and from hopelessness, two extremes that destroy the soul. Reforming the inner self is a lifelong journey. It requires honesty, patience, and constant turning back to Allah. Some days you will feel strong, other days you will struggle, but every sincere effort leaves a mark. Allah places barakah in a heart that strives for Him, even if progress feels slow. So begin within. Fix your intentions before fixing outcomes. Purify your heart before seeking recognition. When the inside is aligned with Allah, the outside falls into place by His permission. Inner reform leads to outer success not because you chase it, but because Allah grants it as a byproduct of sincerity, humility, and trust in Him. My brothers and sisters, one of the most liberating truths in a believer's life is understanding that when Allah is pleased with you, the opinions of people lose their power over you. Many of us live under the constant weight of judgment, criticism, and expectation. We worry about how others see us, what they think of our actions, and whether they approve of our choices. This preoccupation steals peace, undermines confidence, and distracts us from our true purpose, pleasing Allah. People will always have opinions. Some will admire you, some will envy you, and some will misunderstand you. No matter how perfectly you act, no matter how much effort you make, there will always be voices pointing out flaws, real or imagined. This is not a failure on your part. It is simply the nature of the world. The believer, however, knows that external validation is temporary and often unreliable. The only validation that truly matters is the pleasure of Allah. When your actions are guided by sincerity, intention, and faith, you free yourself from the chains of societal approval. Your deeds no longer aim to impress others, they aim to honor your Creator. You begin to live a life rooted in purpose rather than perception, and this brings unmatched tranquility. When Allah's pleasure is your focus, criticism becomes inconsequential, praise becomes incidental, and the heart rests in the certainty that what truly matters is being seen and accepted by Him alone. This principle applies to all areas of life. Whether in work, family, or community, people may judge your choices, question your methods, or doubt your character. The temptation to defend, explain, or change for approval is strong, but it is also unnecessary. A heart satisfied with pleasing Allah is immune to the fluctuation of public opinion. What matters is that your actions are halal, your intentions are sincere, and your character reflects the teachings of Islam. Everything else is secondary. Reliance on people's opinions is also a form of vulnerability. When your worth is determined by otha, aras, you become a prisoner of their moods, preferences, and misunderstandings. But when Allah is the standard, you become resilient. You no longer crumble when faced with envy, gossip, or disapproval. Instead, you remain grounded, calm, and focused, knowing that Allah sees every hidden effort, every silent struggle, and every small act of obedience that no one else notices. This does not mean ignoring feedback or avoiding growth. Constructive advice offered with sincerity is valuable, but unsolicited criticism, negativity, or unjust judgment should not dictate your peace or self-worth. The believer evaluates guidance through wisdom, not ego, and measures effort by sincerity, not applause. Ultimately, when Allah is pleased, the heart experiences true freedom. You act with integrity, speak with honesty, and live with humility, not to be seen, but because it is right in His eyes. The opinions of others may come and go, but Allah's satisfaction is eternal. Focus on that, and you will find a peace that no criticism can disturb, a confidence that no mockery can shake, and a joy that no worldly validation can replace. My dear brothers and sisters, when we step back and reflect on all that we have discussed, a beautiful truth emerges. True strength, growth, and peace do not come from controlling others, proving yourself to them, or seeking their approval. They come from focusing on your own heart, purifying your intentions, and aligning every action with the pleasure of Allah. By working on yourself, remaining patient, practicing silence when needed, guarding your tongue, cultivating self-discipline, avoiding unnecessary battles, and trusting Allah over people's opinions, you create a life of inner calm and meaningful progress. Every effort you make quietly, sincerely, and consistently becomes a source of light that not only transforms you, but also influences those around you in ways that noise and criticism never could. Remember, the world will always have distractions, judgments, and comparisons. But when your heart is devoted to Allah, when your focus is inward on self-improvement and sincerity, the noise of the world fades, your peace strengthens, and your deeds gain weight in the sight of your Creator. Let your journey be one of quiet dedication, humble effort, and unwavering trust in Allah's wisdom. Walk your path with patience. Speak only when it benefits. Correct yourself before you correct others. Seek Allah's pleasure above all else, and you will discover that true success, lasting happiness, and profound contentment are found not in the eyes of people, but in the sight of Allah. This is the path of the believer, focused, silent, sincere, and steadfast. Thank you, everyone.